Are you considering divorce? Are you dealing with it now? Are you on the other side and not sure what comes next? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show with your host, Lisa C. Decker.
Hi, welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show. I'm Lisa Decker, certified divorce financial analyst and real estate collaboration specialist in divorce, and founder and CEO of Divorce Money Matters and Divorce Town USA, the sponsor of our show today. And I am very excited to introduce my assistant and executive co-host, Marcella Kripe, who is behind the scenes helping during the show. And she is going to give us some information about what we can expect today. So what's real for us today, Marcella?
We've got a great show today. I just want to let you know, Lisa, there's something showing in your background. I'm not sure what that is, but now you'll know. And this week,
I'll have to leave.
Live TV, you gotta love live TV. This week, we're actually talking to Nancy White, who you can see on the screen with Lisa and I. Nancy is a researcher and developer who assists health-conscious adults in creating healthy lifestyles they can tweak as they age. And today we're going to talk about these healthy lifestyles during the process of divorce. Nancy was a host and executive producer of the network show. She was also a founding member of YEP, Young Entrepreneur Project. She's currently the co-host of the North Carolina Happy Neighborhood Networking, and she recently launched her own TV show here on the Win-Win Women Network called The Healthy Sales Chick. Welcome to the show, Nancy. We're so privileged to have you today.
Thank you, Marcella. I'm so grateful to be here. And Lisa, it's always a delight just to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'd love to know a little bit about you, Nancy, and how you came to this role that you're in now, and what led you to this place where you're now the healthy sales chick. And I love that. I love that title.
Well, Lisa, it's been a long road because I get to be 70 in a couple of weeks. And so I left corporate America 39 years ago. And so this entrepreneurial journey has been going for a while. And so I have always been intrigued by a healthy lifestyle, especially since my father died when I was 9 of Hodgkin's disease. And my oldest brother, John, was studying to be a doctor and discovered his own leukemia. And at 22, he lived 2 years longer. So in my mind, Lisa, I always kept thinking there needs to be some things that we can do as much as possible to keep our health, as preventative as possible. But my mom was 96 when she moved home to be with the Lord, and she was that little health nut. So anyways, but I have over the years been a 30-year researcher in natural prevention, because we get new bodies every 6 to 8 years. So you might as well make a new good one. And again, I'm very holistic. It's healthy mind, body, and spirit. You can't just nurture one area or that other area is going to start squawking at you. So, but that's just sort of a quick overview, Lisa. But I really believe that, we self-care, we have to do it. That's why it's called self-care. I can't exercise for you. I cannot eat for Marcella. I cannot sleep for anybody else. So that's where I really love to help people, just to, again, stop for a moment, just to assess what they're doing and celebrate the good things, but also find out areas that they might be having some struggles in.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your family circumstances. That must have been very difficult as a young person. But I'm glad that it led you on a path to where you are now, to helping others. Sometimes that's what our greatest challenges do. I will tell you, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So I'm with you on this journey of self-care and taking care of ourselves in all ways. And it's really an honor to have you here today. So, a lot of people, when they're going through divorce, it's a very difficult time. They can't concentrate, they can't sleep, they're full of anxiety and sometimes depression. And it's comes with the territory, but we want to help them get through it in the best way possible for their health, so that they can make sound decisions in the decisions that they'll be faced with in the divorce, and also to recover faster on the other side. So how do you describe, does the word frazzle relate to everything that you talk about with your clients?
Well, when I was going through my divorce, it was very interesting because I had two small children, and all of a sudden, you've got that little mind chatter is always going anyways, but it really is accelerated when you're going through, the separation and divorce, and then afterwards, and you're always feeling like, I've got to take care of this, I've got to do this, I've got to protect, my children, I've got to know. It's just like it's heightened, and all of a sudden, it's like what we feel like with anxiety starts in our tummy and it starts coming up and crawling. And then you just all of a sudden you're just thinking, whew, I just need to stop for a moment. I love this. I just need to stop for a moment and just be able to just see what really is true, what's really happening, the things, I have control over. I need to take care of those things. And if I cannot do it on my own, as a woman, especially, I need to ask for some help. And then if there's things I don't have control over, I'm going to have to learn techniques and ways to release them and let them go, Lisa. But I think, that frazzled feeling is just all of a sudden, at the end of the day, you're just not laying in your bed just to be able to just go, oh, it's been such a good, productive day, whatever. You were just laying in there going, whoa, I'm so glad this day is over with. And then, that's another thing that when you're being frazzled or whatever, that does affect sometimes that peaceful rest and that peaceful sleep. And that's our recovery time. So I think being frazzled happens at all areas and walks in our life, but especially as we're going through a divorce, a separation. And I have also referred to as a divorce as sort of like a living death. And so it's just like, you continually are going through some things, but there's always those things that stay there. And that was a long answer to your question. But one of the things I think too is, especially as a woman, and if you're a mom, then you're not only having to watch out for your frazzledness, but also for your children and even your ex. And so it's not just you, but it's all those extenuating circumstances that sort of add to that little bonfire.
Oh, you're right. And, it's like attitude is contagious, right? And if we're feeling frazzled, then others around us start to pick up on that energy, and it's a rolling ball. So when we can find ways to calm our central nervous system and our mind, it can help others around us to feel calmer as well. You talk about stopping and doing an overview of you. I love that idea. Can you give us more about that? Expand upon that topic?
Absolutely. And I think stopping for women especially, I don't care if it's like, if it has to go on sometime during the daytime when you, again, start feeling that anxiety start creeping up, or even just like once a week. We schedule everything of these things that run our lives. And so, schedule a time, just even if it's, 15, 30 minutes for you just to stop and release. And I believe we're always releasing so we can receive. But the whole idea of just stopping, some people think, I can't stop. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can. You can make that choice, just like you were talking about, to just stop for a few minutes and acknowledge the good things that you're doing, the good things that have been happening, the things that are great blessings in your life. For myself, I know from research, it takes 7 positives to overcome 1 negative that we either speak to ourselves, we hear, or whatever. So we have to make a conscious effort to bring in more of the positive to overcome. And right now, unfortunately, I believe we're living in a combative zone in a lot of different ways. But I think stopping is a choice, and you can schedule it. Or if you just feel it just coming and creeping or whatever, stop, do that big belly breath, change your environment. Just, if you're inside, just step outside and just breathe or whatever. Just sometimes that couple of minutes makes the biggest difference. So that's what I mean about just stopping and just, assessing, but making sure that you are acknowledging the good things that you're already doing and that you've already accomplished. If you've got children, you can look at them and go, whoa, I did that. Those are some blessings that I brought in. They may not always feel like a blessing, but but being able to cherish those things.
Oh, those
I
are,
love what you said too about taking the time to see what needs to happen and where you might need help. If you can't do it on your own, that's okay. It's just acknowledging, you know what, I need a hand, and then picking the right one that'll get you through that next step. I love that. But if we never stop and assess, we're never gonna know where we need to go next, and we're just gonna run in circles.
well, I can attest to that as a plus person. Probably could add a few more pluses to that. And, the family problem solver and client problem solver, and always out doing in the world. And, get to a point where it's not sustainable. And I had to stop for myself. And cancer has a way of doing that to folks as well. And realize that you can't help others if you're not helping yourself first. It's not selfish, it is self-care, as you mentioned. And one of the biggest things that I learned in going through a lot of trauma and tragedy far beyond cancer is that there are always blessings within everything. And that may be hard to see when you're in the midst of it, but if you stop and you assess what's right with what's wrong, and there can be things right among what's wrong. Maybe you've met some incredible people. Maybe you're going to survive something you never imagined you would ever even deal with. Maybe people have come into your life that have become the greatest blessings. Look more for those than for what's wrong. As you talked about, finding the positives, and they will be there. We have to just stop and think about them. And I got to tell you guys, I am not crying, but I am having some kind of allergy, something today. So if you see tears going down my face, yes, this is special to me, but I am not crying.
You're just leaking a little bit, Lisa.
Well, those are very important things that we're sharing with you folks. I'd love also, Nancy, talk about this. You say it's time to B&R, and I'm not going to tell everybody what that is. I'm going to leave that to you, and also to R&R. So what does B&R and R&R stand for?
It sounds like they're bars that we're going to, but anyways, no. B&R means, it just stands for bless and release. And we get to choose to do that all the time too, because anytime there's been some things that have gone on in our lives that were not fair, they were ugly, they were hurtful, they were all those things, and they keep gnawing at us. And just, even though we say, I have forgiven that person, I have, released it. And there's a lot of things that we can do for forgiveness. To me, forgiveness is like an onion. And when you cut an onion in half, you see the layers, and it's, a layer at a time. And I see, but sometimes, there could be people and situations in our lives that are not for our good, and they're not building us up, but they're always sort of tearing us down. And there's some people too that, you can't really just completely get rid of, but you can bless and release people, and just to be able to create what the R&R stands for. That stands for release and receive. And I think that we have to release and receive and give. I think your hands never stay closed. You're always in this process, because there's going to be the next test. There's going to be the next speed bump. There's going to be the next whatever trial. And we get to choose how long we want to stay bent out of shape about something, or have something continue to aggravate and gnaw at us. And then again, if you need to have some help, ask. That's one of the things that women have a struggle with, is asking for help. Because I can remember, I was raised with 3 brothers, and I'm sitting there going, you're not the boss of me, I'm the boss of me. And, if I needed help or whatever, if I was going to do something, I can remember Lisa doing some plumbing, repairs with my duct tape and my permaglue. And so, but there's certain things that, we need to just be able to stop and ask for some help sometimes. But bless and release is something that I just, it's a choice. if you've had somebody that keeps coming back into your life, and you know that they're just there as takers, and you know they're just there for whatever's good for them, then you know you can just sort of start gently just letting that person just, you know, you all of a sudden, you know, you've got some things that you've got to take care of, and it's called time. Anytime we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else, and vice versa. And time is the most valuable thing that we have. So we need to cherish it. And we've all seen this over the last couple of years. You know, life is one breath away from death. But, you know, we want to be able to do our very best in today. And just, you know, and if we get to wake up tomorrow, then we're back and we get to have that choice again. But I think when there is acidic relationships, when there's things that are, you do know in your spirit that are not healthy for you or your children or the environment, then we have to make that decision on ways to just sort of gently bless and release them.
Well, it's so interesting that you talk about that. And, you know, I recently got to meet the author of The Biology of Belief. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name at the moment, but it's all about the molecular science of what we believe and how it affects ourselves. And so it plays right into the research that you've done and the things that we're talking about today. And, you know, there's going to always be toxic people in our lives. We get to decide how much of them we want to tolerate, how much we want to allow them into our lives. And sometimes they're there. We can't get rid of them, but how we act and how we act upon those thoughts and what we do and how we react to their energy vampires and you know, the things that they do to set us off, that goes a long way to gaining back control, because ultimately we get what we tolerate in life. And so if we decide that we're not going to tolerate allowing ourselves actually to be upset by them, because we have control. We can't control them, but we have control over ourselves. And so this idea of bless and release and receive is just beautiful. And it can be done, folks. We have to make the conscious decision to do so.
I love that you said bless and receive. So we're not dismissing these people from our lives with any malice or with any bad intent. It's just, this isn't good for me. So I'm going to just let you go do you. And I'm going to make a decision to go spend my time in a different direction. And I just love that, because you're not wishing them ill will. It's just doing what you need to do to be healthy in that moment.
And Marcella, you said something that was just, you know, I can remember when my kids were growing up and, you know, all the peer pressure in school and everything, you know, to try this, try that, whatever. I said, you blame your mom. You tell them, say, you know, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. My mother will kill me. Well, the same thing is you can just say, Marcella, you know, during this season for myself, I need to make some choices that are going to be good and beneficial for me. Remember that old thing, oh, it's not you. When, you know, with couples, you know, they're breaking up or whatever, oh, it's not you. But, you know, you can just say that, you know, just, you know, at this season, in this time in my life, I need to do some things that are going to help build me up, and I'm going to focus on this. And so I love the way you put that, Marcella.
This is good stuff, folks. All right. So what is the number one thing that you suggest folks do for themselves and how to improve upon their lives? How do you help your clients with that?
Well, Lisa, I'd suggest they stop.
Just stop for a few minutes and just, you know, do that overall assessment. Just do that time. Just, you know, and I've got fun little quizzes that people can do. It's just free quizzes, but evaluate your health, evaluate your stress levels, but just stop for a moment and just go over, like we talked about earlier. Acknowledge those good things. I love Ben Franklin things, the pros and the cons. Get a piece of paper out if you want to, or else, you know, use electronic, but make a list of all those positive, good things that you're doing and are accomplishing. And, you know, look at those things and then make a little suggestion list or whatever on areas that you want to improve or transform on. And, you know, and I think women especially, you do not need to compare yourself with somebody else. That's the fastest way to add discouragement throw gas on that fire about feeling, self-condemnation or whatever. Or, people that have said things, that those things keep going around and around in your brain. But give yourself, again, that grace and space, and, be able to set down some ways that you want to improve and prioritize them. It's your life. You get to pick and choose what you want to do for yourself. And, there's some people I've realized over the years, you can't want things more for other people than they want for themselves. But I really feel like when you as a woman especially can, again, just stop for a moment, acknowledge all those amazing good things that you are doing, and then look at the areas that you would just like to have some improvement and tweaking. It's just like we were talking earlier about, you don't want to just lose some weight. I mean, I've stayed 6 sizes down for 15 years, but I release it, but I still have to maintain it. It's not just like once and done. The only way that you don't ever have to maintain anything is if you're dead. So we are always going to be in the maintenance mode.
Well, we don't want to have that happen to achieve a goal. So, and I will tell you, having faced life-threatening illness multiple times and having had a lot of people that I love die in recent years, we are just one breath away from death. And that's, a very startling thought. But if you think about it, it can wake you up to live your best life, because we don't know when our time comes, right? And why give away the breaths that we have to other people by allowing them to enter our minds and poison our well? When you're having anger with someone, it's not affecting them. Most of the time, they don't even know about it, but it is poisoning our own cells. So utilize your mind to help your body to live the best life possible. And what you have shared with us today, Nancy, is so incredibly important, because so many of us just think of the body and the mind as separate entities, and they're not. And research continues to show that we even have an extra brain in our gut. The gut reaction, that's real. And also our gut takes in a lot of the turmoil that we have in our lives, and many of us have gut issues. So, learning to work with our bodies, to treat our bodies as the sacredness that they are, and to allow our mind to stop and just be, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. And I speak to you as someone who didn't get that for a very long time in my life. And I get it now. And it is so ultra important, because we, again, cannot help others if we are not helping ourselves first. It's like the analogy on the plane. Put your own oxygen mask on first before you try to help your children or someone next to you, right? So you also talked, Nancy, about an acronym ASK, always seek knowledge. What do you mean by that, and how can we fulfill that?
I think we need to be and choose to be lifelong learners, Lisa. It's one of those things, always seeking knowledge and those types of things, because we're evolving. None of us have been the age we are today. I mean, I loved it when it said, we're the youngest we're ever going to be and the oldest we're ever going to be today. And so, but we are always want to know more things that can be beneficial, not only just for ourselves, but as us women, to share with other women. I mean, I think it's one of the really selfish things, if we discover some things and that can be good for ourselves or our children, our family, our relationships, and you just keep it to yourself. And so I will tease men. I'll say the best marketing tool there is to tell a woman, we speak at least 2,500 more words a day than you do. It's like, but we want to always be seeking knowledge. And it's even like when you're in business, you're always forecasting for the future. You're looking out and being, educated. I believe personally, you always apply knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, those 3 things to every single thing that we're doing in life. We want to have that knowledge, we want to have understanding, and we want to be able to utilize that. And sometimes, again, women, tend not to ask enough questions to have that full understanding. Or, heaven forbid, I have believed this all my life, and lo and behold, it's wrong or it's not right. And it's something that has either been passed down from generation to generation, or, I learned it and I just thought it was the truth. But I think, again, staying open to be able to receive and to be able to, use that information, not only for ourselves, but to share with others. Just like what you're doing here. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Can you imagine all the women that have gone through, women and men, because it takes two, that have gone through divorces without having any place to be able to go and ask, get knowledge, get understanding, because that is one of the loneliest feelings. And if you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The loneliest feelings that you can ever go through is when, you're going through that time. You may be embarrassed to talk to anybody at church. You may be embarrassed to share with anybody in your family because, people are going to judge us, whether we like it or not. And you know what? That's where we can just be like, I love my little duck. I have to show you my little duck, Lisa. So this is what I tell a lot of women. My little duck, it's a little duck. I said, you just be like this little duck. I said, you just let it roll right down off your back and wiggle your tail and flick it off. And so, and so when there's things that we're hearing or whatever coming up, I just, remember my little duck and I go and just wiggle it off. So.
And that's a great way to leave us with that image. I love it. Let's all just wiggle our little tails after everything just runs right off our back. I'm gonna sashay a little bit differently from now on, folks. That is great, Nancy. Well, this has just been fantastic. Can you tell folks how they can reach out to you if they'd like to know more about how you can help them, and tell us how you help them? Let's start with that real quick.
Well, again, what we do is we always start with a conversation, and it's always about them. I mean, people go, well, what makes you different? Blah, 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 blah. People really don't care. They want to know what you can really help them with in the areas. So we always start with a conversation, and we just, talk about things that are really important to them. And if they need resources, I would love to share resources. I've been leading networking groups over 20 years. But, the fastest way to get in touch with me is just through my website, thehealthysaleschick.com. And there's a couple of things that you can do on your own, and, just take your health quiz if you want to and get some great suggestions, or take the stress quiz and get some great suggestions. So those are different fun things, again, to help you just stop for a moment and then celebrate the good things. So anyways, but I really work with people, right where they are. And we're going to talk about, again, what's important to them and what are their goals. And you know what? It's their timeline. It's their life. They get to pick and choose. But I'm going to share with them is that mind, body, and spirit. You have to nurture all three of those areas if you really want to thrive and not just be in survival mode.
Thank you so much. Well, that sounds fantastic. And I couldn't agree with you more about asking that part right there. We don't have all the answers, not one single person on the planet, but you need to reach out and ask folks who may be able to guide you in different ways, because without that, you may falter and you may fail. So Marcella, we have also some things that help folks. Can you share those with us, please?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to do so. So just on your screen, you'll see the Divorce Town Roadmap. This is for anyone facing or already in the middle of the divorce process. If you're not sure where to start or you don't like where you're going, please go to divorcetownusa.com and download this ebook that'll give you some healthier options for the process. Also, Lisa has put together a free divorce financial fitness kit at our other website, divorcemoneymatters.com. This is again, an ebook. It's also a working spreadsheet to help you get your documents organized and get your materials together so that you'll be better prepared. And if you're already, again, in the middle of the process, to help get you better organized so you'll have a better outcome. Finally, we want to make you aware of this wonderful resource. This is available through meetup.com. It is a support group sponsored by Divorce Town USA. It is called the Divorce Help and Hope Group. And our next meeting is actually this Thursday at noon. And the next one after that will be the 30th on a Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern. So please feel free to join us either through Divorcetown USA, or you can get to us through meetup.com. And last but not
They're
least,
free, just so we make sure everyone's aware.
yes, the support group is completely free and national as well. Last but not least, we have a very fun guest next week, and he is a money mastermind. This is Dr. Ted Klotz. He will be visiting us next week as our guest. He will be discussing the theme Mind Over Money and how to have successful financial transitions in divorce, because divorce is definitely not the end. It's just the close of a chapter. So join us next week at the same time in the same place. It has been an absolute pleasure to have all of you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
And we thank you, folks. And that show next week is going to be a not miss one. I happen to know Dr. Ted Klotz personally. He is a master at this, what he does. He's a professor at Creighton University, and he also is the author of several books and just a great down-to-earth guy. So we hope to see you there. And thank you for joining the show today. Don't forget to hang around after where we answer your questions live.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.